I always knew I wanted to do a sports course, so when my guidance counsellor told me that there's a rugby specific course at IT Carlow, then I knew that was a good choice for me.
The rugby subjects are player development and coach education. We follow the IRFU coach education pathway from stage 1 to 3 of the long-term player development. And we have player development modules which looks at developing the player and looking at all their development in terms of players with lectures and on-field activities. People who want to enjoy college life as well as getting modules for rugby.
I'd say it's a very worthwhile course to do if you're interested in sports. You can go to coaching, you can go into business management, and also you can help out in your local clubs.
Those classes where we do practice our skills and we get to go out on the pitch, do certain drills, and that's good fun.
I was nervous about it because I thought it would be all guys on the course, but it's fine. Training with them is fine. It's not any different to doing training with the girls, and the girls that are on the course are really nice.
Training with lads kind of brings you out of your comfort zone, and it really makes you come along as a player. Helps you see your skills. Learning new information about your specific sport is really good because you can bring it to players back home and you just feel like you have more knowledge.
Over the last few years, the recession has led the people of Ireland into many hardships. One of the most heartbreaking is watching our loved ones leave in pursuit of a better life. It's not just students leaving anymore, it's full family units leaving to look for better opportunities and a better way of life. I interviewed my Aunt Caroline Breen about how emigration has affected her, her children, and her family, my family.
Well, when I was growing up in the 60s and the 70s, you always knew somebody who had left to go to England or America. They always said that they were saving up to come home, but very, very few of them did actually.
Yeah. Why did you choose to stay?
I didn't really travel as such, I didn't travel for work during that time when I was younger. She went to see Spain and London, places in Europe that were quite close to you.
How old was Sarah when she first left?
The first time Sarah went to Australia, she was 16. It was during her transition year, so she went for 5 months. But she absolutely loved it, and as soon as she came home, once she had her leaving cert done, she planned to go back.
Obviously she was very young when she left, what did you think of her leaving?
I was very upset and worried about her going, but on the other hand, I knew she was coming back. She completed her leaving cert. She had met her boyfriend, so both of them travelled back to Australia when they were only 19. They stayed that time then for 3 years. Then the millennium was coming up and everyone was talking about the millennium and the big parties and everything that was going on in Ireland. So they decided then to come home. So they decided then that they would come home after about 4 years they had spent in Australia at that time.
It was recently that they left again, they went back. What do you think that was kind of the cause of?
This time it was due to financial reasons and the recession and the fact that there was very little work for Liam. And they started looking into it. They applied for their visa then, and it took about a year. Very stringent, there was a lot of exams had to be done. They got the visa. And of course the most important thing is this time they had their 2 children going with them. They're there now almost 6 months.
Yeah, and you've recently been out to visit them. So how are they getting on out there? You know, how have the children adjusted?
They've adjusted very well. They've met a lot of friends. I found now at Christmas time that when I went to visit, that they had settled a lot better and were starting to think of Australia as home.
David, who's your second oldest, he had met Michelle here and had a child here, and then they chose to move. So how long ago was that?
That was 4.5 years ago. Jessica would have been 3. I was really surprised when they said they were going, because obviously it's much harder with a 3-year-old child.
And so they kind of have settled down there, and they've since had another child. Do you think kind of that they're raising her to embrace her Irishness as well as her Australian roots? Because obviously Jessie was born in Ireland, but Ashley had been born in Australia.
Well, I wouldn't say they're particularly going out of their way. Like, obviously they are Irish and they watch the Irish matches and they celebrate St. Patrick's Day, but having said that, they celebrate Australia Day also. So they're not, they're not particularly picking one against the other. At the moment, because Ashley has only started kindergarten and she's been at home with David and Michelle, she is still very Irish. Like, her accent is Irish because she's listening to them all the time, whereas her sister Jessica, who's now nearly 8, her accent is totally Australian.
Your youngest child, Sally, she's 21. Can you tell me about her experience of Australia and travelling?
She went over to David and Michelle. The disadvantage then is that you're actually living in a residential, they're not living a kind of a backpacker's lifestyle.
Yeah, studenty kind of life.
Yeah. So she then decided that she would move into Bondi. She got a job through a childminding government agency. She then wanted to stay for the second year, so she went off to do the farm work. It was very hard work, but it was great crack, she said. She decided that she would come home and get some qualifications. So at the moment she's doing special needs childcare in Skullcormac in Cashel. She's talking about going back in maybe August, September. She's thinking of staying there as well.
Although so many of our family members are leaving, we find ourselves wondering, will they come back? Will their grandchildren come back? Will their great-grandchildren come back? What will happen to Ireland and those of us who stayed behind?
Hi, we're Broken Glass on Broadway, and this is our story.
Before we were Broken Glass on Broadway, me and Kyle played in a band, an acoustic band, and we decided that we wanted to be an electric band, so we acquired a drummer and went under the name The Producers. And things with the drummer didn't work out, so he left and we got a new drummer, Alex, and we decided to change the name to Broken Glass on Broadway, and then we acquired David a couple of months later.
So we first played in the Junction Festival in 2009, I think it was, in Devant, and that's when we kind of started. And then, as we swapped members in and out and stuff like that, we changed the band name. And the first thing we ever did was Tip's Got Talent, I think. That was Alex's first gig, and that was our first gig, I think, properly as Broken Glass on Broadway.
We played on Balcony TV and Pop Caher, Soundcheck TV, and Two Tube, that's the other one. And Beat plays the last song that we brought out, Right Things Wrong Time, quite a lot.
I think like the first really big gig we played was in the Academy with Fox Avenue, yeah. And because we got like quite a good reception at that gig, that we were later able to get a gig, a leg of Bresley's tour with him, because one of Bresley's roadies just happened to be working at the Academy gig, and I think they're probably, well, we played with Key West as well in the Forum in Waterford.
Miracle Bell and Dolan's,
yeah.
Limerick.
That's good. So Facebook, we're very active with Facebook and Twitter. We're always keeping in touch with people and trying to get more people interested in the band. But you know, the followers are great, they're really nice. We've been recording the EP and it's almost finished, nearly there, so we can't wait to finish it and get it out there.
I think it's going to be cool because it's going to be the first kind of body of work that we could release. Like the last time we released just one song, and then before that there was 2 songs from a couple of years ago, but this is the first time that like there'll be like an EP out
and
with
we'll
3 songs
actually
on
be
it.
selling our music, yeah. So like,